Okay, so here we have the core aerator. Um, here's the plastic drum, whatever it is. In my case, it came from an actual uh, landscape roller that was designed to be pushed by hand, the handle on it. I'm going to take the handle off. The axle in the center is too small for what I'm going to do because I'm going to fill this entire thing with concrete. So I'm going to take that out and I'm going to fit in a larger axle. This is a large bung hole in the side, which I'm lucky to have. If you have a IBC, or I mean a plastic barrel that you're using anyway, um, hopefully it's the type with the whole lid that you can remove. Something easier to fill because you're going to fill this whole thing with concrete, okay? So you center a hole, fill the hole, put the axle through. We're going to use bearing blocks on the end after we get this in. But anyway, so you get the hole to the exact size, completely centered. We're going to put the axle through. We're going to fill this whole thing with concrete. We're going to let it sit. Again, plastic. We're going to use plastic for this. All right. Then your lid should be on while it dries. And then your bearing blocks are going to be put on the end of this axle, so it has to be long enough to accept the bearing blocks. The bearing blocks are going to then be affixed to a frame that we make. And the frame is going to look something like this. And they come out in this direction, this direction. It's probably going to be like an angle iron, maybe 2 inches or so. It's going to come out this way. And then we're going to need something that goes up. Let me think. It's going to go this way. So this is the general shape, right? But we also need something, we want this to be picked up by a 3-point hitch. Sorry, screw it, we don't need that. At the ends of here, we're going to have the 3-point hitch pins. Here, the lower ones. So that's cool there. And then we need the upper one. So we're going to have something like the shape here. These are going to bend in and then kind of go up like that. This is a terrible drawing. Like that. And then there's going to be like a piece of metal going between here and here. Get the shape right. And then show you in 3D, but basically a hitch pin is going to be up here. And that's the point that the 3-point hitch, the top hitch, is going to connect to. So there's going to be like a hole in it, from the side like that. All right, so that's permanent. That's the pin for the top one. And now we can pick this entire thing up. So that's all there is to this. It's that easy. Then when we go to put the aerator spikes in, what we're going to do is we're going to measure these off, put them wherever we want on the drum. Right? You got plastic on the outside. You'll just mark the different points, and they'll be staggered like this. Staggered. And then we're going to drill into it with the correct size drill bit, which will be a little bit wider than the tube that we put in. All right. Now we're going to put in a tube. The tube is going to be a metal pipe. All right. And the length of this pipe is going to be, first of all, the entire length is going to be 4 times the size of the diameter of the pipe. And the pipe diameter needs to be larger than the core shank that's going to go into it. There's the core shank. It's got this opening in the side that soil spits out when it enters from the top. Okay, but at the bottom you'll notice that there's a little hole right there for a bolt to go through. So your metal tube is also going to have a hole here where we can put a bolt through to catch these replaceable core aerators. Okay, so what we're setting into the concrete are actually these tubes that are going to be a couple inches deep. We need to make sure that this hole is above above the surface here. So we're going to drill through the plastic and the concrete. We're going to knock out any of the concrete that's left, and blow out the hole, and then we're going to set in these pipe sections with epoxy, okay? Construction epoxy. It's going to bond the metal to the concrete in there. And then we're going to be left with this plastic finish on the outside, which is paintable. And of course, so shouldn't we paint these too? Probably with an epoxy paint. And that's it. So you looked at the price tag before in the other one. Since I have this, you can probably get one of these drums for maybe $30 or free, depending on where you get it. The steel, you know, I source a lot of my steel for free. Maybe you have to buy some of these, but there's only a few pieces, as you can tell, to this entire project. The rod and the bearing blocks, those aren't that much. I don't remember, maybe you can get both of these blocks for under $40. And then the shaft, that's not bad either. I would probably try and use, for this, I'm going to see if I can't get like a 3/4 or a 1-inch shaft, and then get the bearing blocks for that. And then you're going to need these, which you can get at Tractor Supply. These are the pins. These are the pins for the bottom part of the 3-point hitch. All right, and then you'll need this piece right here could be a sheared piece of bolt that you can weld onto there. So you're going to do some welding to make this frame, but not much. Okay. So it's a lot better than $700. You can get these, all of these, I just checked. You can get 30 of them, which should be enough for this, for about $100. So you're in $100 here, maybe 40 here, you know, another 20, 40. See. So I figure this whole project can be done, the epoxy, for about $200 to $250 instead of $700. In my case, it's going to be even less because I have this already as well. Alright, so this is what I'm going to use for the core aerator. Here it is. It's just a landscape roller for making beds nice and compressed, for maybe seeding lettuce or something like that would be cool. Or whatever. You can use multi-use for this thing. I'm going to rip this handle off. I'm gonna take the shaft off, because looking at it, that looks like it's not even 5/8 rod. And I can imagine making a mount for this for a 3-point hitch, and then picking up this entire drum full of concrete just by that skinny axle. I don't believe it. So I'm gonna try and take that out, re-drill that hole for like a 3/4 or a 1-inch shaft, and then I'm going to put bearing blocks on the end of that. I'm going to connect the bearing blocks to probably like I'm going to connect the bearing blocks to about 2-inch angle iron or so, we'll say, and then I'm going to make a frame out of it coming out to here, and I'm going to make a part that comes up like this, a vertical, to make a hitch up here for the top of the 3-point hitch, and then by the bottom parts here, the little pins, and I'll attach them to the frame that's going to come out this way. Then I'm going to, once the concrete is set in here with the rod, with the axle, that's going to be all connected in there. I am going to drill through the plastic and the concrete down through. I am going to take a section of metal tube, which is a little bit wider than the diameter of the core aerator spike that I'm going to put into it, and it's going to sit proud I don't know, maybe an inch or less. It's going to go into there with epoxy that is going to bond that metal tube, that hollow tube, to the concrete. It's going to bond that, and then our aerator goes into the tube. The tube is proud, like I said, and it has a hole in the side, and that hole goes a bolt or a pin that's going to connect the aerator and hold the aerator in place. Alright, I'm going to show you how I work this out. This is the core aerator drum. And here, okay, so what we have is it's 24 inches wide, it's 17.5 inches in diameter. So circumference is pi times the diameter. So here it is, pi times diameter, that's the inches right there, 54.95 inches. Divided by 12. All right, so my guess is, divided by 12, we get 4.57. It's not even. I'm trying to find out how many spikes I'll need between a certain length. I figure I want these spikes about a foot apart over each ring that I'm going to make. So if I did that, I would have 4.57 spikes. That's not an even number. So let's see about the circumference divided by 11 inches in between. 11 in between. Okay, it turns out that the answer to that is 5. Pretty much 5. So 5 per circle. Great. All right. These come in a 30 pack. So 30 divided by 5 equals 6. So I can have 6 circles with that $100 worth of shanks that come in. But it turns out after doing the math to find the space between here, which is 24 divided by 7 spaces, you get 3 inches and 7/16 minus. And that is very tight. So I'm going to redo this math, and I'm going to get rid of some of these rings, because 3 inches in between these rings means I can get rid of some of these, and I'll just have extra aerators on hand, which is great. But there's, that's way too many for this size here, okay? All right, so I found that 6 rows was too much for this drum. So now we have 4 rows. All right, 4 rows, and we're trying to get this number here. So 4, and then there's 5 spaces. 5 spaces. All right, so the space in between these rows is 24 divided by 5 spaces. 4 circles equals 5 spaces. 24 divided by 5 equals 4.8 inches. Right. There's our new dimension.